Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing good. Page number 6 in the prayer book. Dola penche sanje duba isho sanje chuna soje chuna la isho pati dani age jen soje be sananjin dola penche sanje duba isho simjan danje dewa da dewe jeda Damba daiminde wajin yeri chada yinda chevi tanya chimbo lai nebarchi Jan tanje dewa na devi jedan demba jeje dunye da dunye ge jedan dewa dunye mebe dewa damba daiminde wajin yeri chada yinda Chevi tanya chimbo la nevarchi samjan tanje dewa devi jeda dembarchi dunye da dunye ge jedan dewa dunye mebe dewa daimin dewa jeji nyeri chada yinda chevi tanya chimbo la nevarchi Yan thaba. Okay, tadi tercoba sumber itu apa? Ani, kalau sumber di lakalan, tapi tu je, tu lah teni senyum mana, doni sedoba, yang bahas lah. Tadi kalau sana ani, tapi tu lah dicerang atau tapor cidalan zingga tadi kita main bah. Tapi tapi kalau lah tapi kita usna, orang tu nyomo begi jadi lah, nyomo jadi sana timu tu dah shani, tiga tende jadi pa ane doba lah, ane tapi kita lah tene, ane nyomo nam, doni pa doba cakap, papa macam udi sih So today we move on with the text to the third verse in the text, and if we look at the third verse. Then the kind of general idea in this verse is confronting the negative afflictions or negative emotions inside us with forceful means. And herein, when we talk about confronting our negative, the afflictive emotions inside us, then the text advises us to see these negative afflictions as the true enemy, an enemy of ourselves, and as such we should always confront these negative afflictions with forceful means. Thus.
Ani kondole de samala sra ani rajula karite cheundu gala dosani du karu chewaina ani nganzo chelam de chigiro de du gala ani nyomo de ne karu chewaina ra to chingna de taji chewure sra sujula karu de cha chigde kundu chigde ngaji chigde to chinsa ani tende nyomo che mata nyomo de sugi cheumba taji chini cheumba ha kon zam zam ha gor khuguma ra ne taji chigure taji chidi cheumba ha gor ha komatari lamsang ma chomegi taji tang ure sra Isi kemana wahina cama shun dari je sani nani ani ciri drawing gara, kita medu masuk cinju gadu masuk wahina lamsa meba sutu udah nasi, ani dasnya Maru chebe na sta sosuta sosu mishambala anti marumba cheba lagara chi duala so cheba ina ani dinde ani entap kine ba tsembu thone ra tsembu thamang thone pa an dongwala de pa pangba da doparchi shos ra tinde cha go rel.
Yes. So then if we read the actual verse itself, it reads, "In my every action I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others." So herein, when we look at the first two lines, in my every action, body, speech, and mind, in every action from these three doors, the moment a particular negative emotion or afflictive emotion arises in our mind, then we should immediately know that this is a negative emotion, and we need to immediately analyze and investigate this negative emotion and the negative effects that this negative emotions could have on us. So herein, what we normally do is like we pay no mind to the kind of emotions that arises in our mind. We are not so mindful of the emotions that arises in our mind, and this is why it is very important to be mindful of the moment that a negative emotion arises in our mind and to investigate these negative emotions. Why do we need to investigate these negative emotions? Because these negative emotions is the source of suffering for both oneself as well as others. So herein, the text advises us to immediately investigate and know the moment that these negative emotions arises in us, and to confront them strongly, and refrain from like giving into their and stop oneself from giving into their influence. So the text advises us to confront these negative emotions strongly with forceful means, and immediately, because just like if you stamp out a small fire, a small spark, when it's a small fire, then there is no danger of that fire catching on to be a raging one. So if you are able to kind of extinguish it out when it's a small spark, then there is no danger of this catching on to be a raging fire. Likewise, we should look at the negative emotions in the same manner and try to confront them strongly the moment they arise in our minds. Yes.
And this is an Timusura. That is only Chitan Conans read a Nimboyra. There's no two soon to Pamatuena, not to do Hama watch it to the Savanus, to Chitan to the Savanus, so shared and I had a bringing a soda. Then I think the day to soon deal on to your North Genera, till a children Zen can do Yapodo Tony and Tipijitana, and it's also Mabel's restaurant. It sounded as so Nisidilla in a ray and Chawashima and Shima in a ray. And it does you move to some shoe cherry argue, Mr. D. Nalo and a total some parent legging.
So then herein, when we talk about the negative afflictions, even though there are many different presentations of the types of negative afflictions, such as there is one presentation wherein it's talked about that there are 84,000 types of negative afflictions. But the root of all these negative afflictions could be summed up in these three root poisons, which are anger, attachment, and ignorance. So these three negative afflictions are the root of all other negative afflictions. And these three are called poisons because just like if you take a poison knowingly, then it only has the effect of making you suffer. So this is why these three are called the three poisons. And if you keep reveling in these negative emotions such as anger, attachment, ignorance, then it only has the effect of bringing you suffering. Yes.
다들 인디가 어느 가서 요와에는 뉴도 자신은 뉴도 젠지 마테와는 젠티는 제추주로 되어라 근데 인디가 다 오는 근데 요와에는 다 가서 같이 타나 라 요래라는 샤샤야 말디 같이 올라는 코나들 님보요레스라 님보요레 담보 님보 도도를 쪼르디 가르치나 가서 검토와이나 나 동반이 고마이나 아니 그 차상해 봤어요 이글라페 펜토다 디마이네 코라레레라 되차라 님보 샤다라 님보 티물이 님보르도 답변은 되차기 님보로 샤와이나 아니 믿어보고마 되차래데 가르라나 가서 이치나기 되게 얘도 원sel인데 비슷하고라 라 생이 나로 샤와이나 가서 되게 유지 아버지 위에바이네 딜링 가서 세 개니 아빠는 그 자장갑지 전에 자니 갑지 투지야 빠셔 와 리스당 이디갈 아니 아들 세게 버지 아버지 돈 다딜은 알아 라야기 다시 땅 우도 트네로 잘라이나레 티커미 페 파츠이나레 카르lum바 펜저 카리네라 차콜라이트 드니슬리초 다디 라야 다시 땅야라 아니 치 땅무를 소고 다시 땅야라 다디갈 다 마부지야 로로보 마부지 페지 땅으로 아직 그만 끝나는 좀 마시나 아니 고고 땅나한테 실레트시나한테 카르 탈라 마부지갈 안디티 되는 용도 라야기 다시 땅와라야 더나 두자 마부지 세우다 인데 이친 가서 남사 그냥 처음에 저 딱고 다랑이 두자라는 개만 다디 다차비 제라 아니 당알 고도 따라와라 가르치고 파치치제마 다들 내가 노트 마부지 고좀 오라 근데 인사 아니 되샤라이는 빌리샤 레스트라
So then from the Buddhist point of view, since we have taken from the beginning this time we have taken a lot of we have taken a lot of birth in our previous lives, then it is explained that habitually we are inclined to give in to these the effect of the negative afflictions. It's just that these afflictions are waiting for the right conditions to arise in our minds. So as such, then as these three are known as the three poisons, then they are particular antidotes that we could use to combat the negative effects of these afflictions. So the supreme kind of antidote that is talked about in Buddhism is of course the wisdom of emptiness. If you are able to meditate on the wisdom of emptiness, then it naturally serves as an antidote to all these negative afflictions. But if this is not possible, then there are particular antidotes for each of these particular negative afflictions. Now, first, let's look closely at the negative affliction of negative emotion of attachment or desire. So what is the quality of this desire? So the quality of desire is to exaggerate the object of our desire, to exaggerate the quality of the object of our desire. We project this desire on the object of our desire, wherein, like if it is, let's just, as an example, if it's just only 50% beautiful, then our mind makes it out to be 100% beautiful. And this is the quality of attachment or desire, wherein it exaggerates the object of desire. And now, in itself, this exaggeration does not have any negative effect, but wherein do the negative effect arise? Since it is an object of desire, then we want this object of desire to come into our possession now. And herein, we try to think of means to acquire or get this object of desire. And in this pursuit to acquire this object of desire, then we engage in a lot of misdeeds, in a lot of unbecoming behavior to acquire this object of desire. This is the negative quality and the negative effect that the emotion of desire has on us. Thus.
Penang sepedo shawina. Kita nanti jadi shalan sami dujare kontrolan sami ke pangjare dujare tu lawara. Sami dujare tu juga sini. This is susu la kerja haun. Dan pedo shawan dah cala ina remi penjo ina sacha ina hari ina yorba. Ini ya tang tu ni cile peshawana. Kita khamba roz le peshana khamba nanti tu gor desarwa. Susu nanti khamba yorba che. Susu de cik chapa dan mayu anda oda dah cik macam tu susu lendi dia juga ina. Ra, tadi macam cik kan selalu ada kampanye je, thong, ra. Tadi lecak pada ada kampanye tu peak tu sikit musia dan hije tu betul. Di selalu lebaran itu tu peak tu, kesusin tu tu apa tu, zotan hije apa tu. Cik kerana je tu nanti kan sama apa susu tu sera. 당가 된데지 저거 선출한다 저거지 쳤잖아 저는 여기다 뭐 매번 가지고 도움을 주고 이내 다 신바시라 그래서 이 동안 그 처랑이 단대 이기들라 싫어야 고마토는 다 신바지를 이도 뭐지 통 다시랑이 된데지 저거서는 템바 삼지기 잘라들 라이고 말은 두고 말아 다들 라야라 탐지 따고 뭐 치고 뭐 알레 사전 요거도 지라 소 사전에 와 있는 사전 요거 이내 아니 도다 아니 가서 Geshema Dawa Dolma 고에 짜도 또 너무 좋아 신도 저저더라 그래서 사마라야 다시 당와라 아니 가르고 담문고 봐 무리 싸와라 람사나 라이 말아 알레와 치우라 하디 컴버드 자와란지 쇼게 하올란도 문서 본다고 직치 아니 원은 밀레 로바치로 줄레 직하데 오시 같이 치우라 아 근데 이집 마부 지우는 드디어 다쳐라인 거네 월 디바사에 뭐를 좀 봐. 배 돈아 마부지 아니 직접 마시나 아니 직도라도 땅라이도 따도 ana chik tasasa da chik nambrado sela madero lira tanga khadu sagine khadu dugu na ngadi ragi na ne tene ro sa chabe gi chot nimi la khadu ngam sira thongumda ha de chen du la ni ti khamba de raya la khana mila drasa go ya chik na bolla go ya go tang go ya de chi mam puchile ha ta de pesha khamba de la ngam pesha ngam chama khamba de go ha go ra kham de khamba yo de yo go da ya khamba go mar la go mara go de 제장아서 착바도 칠게와 캄바시 우야 보더네 질 차와이나 디라이랑 아주 깔레 쇼자오다 라 디자오디 디 깔레 자발템 디 리네양 아주 티빠페 모사오 라 다디 캄바데 안에 두투에 무두 가시 디발로래 캄바디 땅무 참아라와이네야 디 소니 미 아라타야로다 디 깔레 모부저라 다 타마데 두 차스네 양 아제레 양가 당아다 캄바디 우페 스트라 미심바스 칼메 고디나 데 딜롱바디네 예 캄바야 시에서냐 칼 아제로 레시그라 제가 근데 인디가라 다딩아 또 배천 진주지를 제가 잘라이나래 아치기 포모 펴져이나래 아니 다 가리네 참말 어디를 가리바 당들어.
So herein, when we talk about desire and the object of desire, now let's try to explore it with this example. Since as human beings we all need shelter in the form of a house or a home as a physical structure, and then like even though we have a home of our own, then it is kind of natural for a human being to look at a nice house, a very beautifully designed house, and then to kind of have the desire to have that kind of house for ourselves. So in that instance, if this desire arises in us that we want a house like that, and then in order to just by like desiring this house, you cannot have that house. So you need to kind of figure out a way to have a house like that. And then when you look at that house that you want, then you like since you are under the influence of desire, then you like all aspects of the house. The way the windows are designed, the general layout of the house, the way it's structured, the architecture of the house. So you like all the qualities of the house. And now you want a house like that for yourself. So in order to achieve that, then you need to first look for a land wherein you can build this house. Then you need to gather the materials such as concrete and wood and so forth to build this house. And now these are not easily available. You need the money to get these raw materials to build the house. So now in our pursuit to get this money, then herein the negative effect of desire becomes evident, wherein like since we are pushed by this desire to build that house that we want, then we have naturally in order to do it, you want it fast now, and then you engage. It's not so easy to acquire the required amount of money, so then you want to do it in a fast way, and then you are liable to like lie to people, and then in places where like you have to kind of please engage in people pleasing, you engage in that kind of behavior too. And there are numerous other ways in which your conduct becomes unbecoming. And then also another effect of this is a natural sense of anxiety that when will I be able to build this house? This will also grow in you. So these are the effects of the emotion of desire. The negative emotion of desire has on our behavior. And then when you are able to build the house that you wanted, and let's say that you were able to build it, then the effect doesn't end there. Since you have built it, then it is liable that you would in yourself have a sense of arrogance. Now I have a beautiful house. So this is the way that when we normally think about the negative effects of desire, then it's not so evident. We kind of need to analyze it a little bit, because the effects come a little bit later on and kind of are hidden in our behavior and conduct. Yes.
didn't ship a dinner over Chitang, the dev ship a human rat. Susu Missil ended with Chancellor Chumuira. So Timbasuda or Matidich and Marana sharing at the Shora. And Chancellor, I read a Matijala detaining and Maticali Shuja delivered Susan Yamiro Chunsader. Although did not ship Chipu mind, but the netto Chipu dear mind. We know what I was Susu the Chunu den, the rat. Did I pick it?
So not just how it is explained in the text, or like what the text is trying to explain, and not just listening to what I say. It's kind of important to, as the text explains the way that these negative emotions work, it is important to apply it to your daily experience, or to an experience that you had regarding like an object of desire that you wanted, and the pursuit of that object of desire. And if this negative effects were evident when you were pursuing such an object of desire, so it's very important to apply it to yourself. And I have like a particular incident that I want to share. Geshema
Tidigala the court said Tanya Yonga, Shirashim, Tidigala, Tebja, Chiju, and the Code. Now against the petty Tidigala, Katu Tina Titumara. I need the court said the young. Then you might eat the Ropas and make Tebby and the Chinese Tonsa in the courage. The Moragi that Gurchi, Anima, you want the done gang teacher and then Yedo. At the pair of the Madira touched down with the chest. Tadi tu kalau pilih sesuatu hama yang pesi tamunan tantu kumare kalau kape. Ane kumbai yang antara poket mana kumu jadi di ni sorry do sampai do jika sedang ni yomra. Ane tu tu kumbai isang lalu lah di nyur cimik di lah patah juga apa di lah di ni cik sewa ini kumu tu cire. Ane ngantu ni macam itu ni macam dasar do apa tu nyur bah di lah. Emang yang ane ropa kasih jangan di lain. Lalu kamu tuh kalau tak, tapi kalau kamu ngajak tujuh dosa deh, adi tamu cumi gede nyawa dah, tapi itu pasti tersier jadi ni, malin tak kalau sujar, para lanjut dahulu ya, di para dah deal hago orang, aku anda subuh deh cuma mereka, lo ciri ciri tak lalu lo seorang, lo sesana lah tu marah, adi itu kalau jap jai, baru dah lah ada sasra, ani di sana semua deh, tak kamu ngajak tujuh hari, tapi tenyo sudah rasra, Ayla, Tomna, Temio Dema. After the news of the tip in Jewish name, so she could say what it was. Very caution, which is the domain or the child, the color. Money, the Sanatana, the Chaggy, the rich Chawa. And then the young dealer, Lusegi, Kumado, then Tinalu in the chamber. The Kungirobat has challenged after that should be thousand shoes. Take has a new color shoe jara. The Chimika Lena Boyama is Tapare, the Chinchini Labuda. She's the vision go rich. The Lagomunga to Mizraina. The Legium to Jet and Savana of Calera. People love your solar door, door, is at a time. That the Nedo did not to Petare and cancel the ready Girra. Ross, Missinal, combine they say the mood, the Genchado, Dakarina. Then they Missinal the Chun.
So then I remember that when I was studying as a nun, then we used to go for teachings, and our teachers go for teachings. And then we do not, when the teacher was taking the class, then it was kind of impossible to note everything that he said down. And as such, then one of the nuns, she had a cassette tape recorder, and so she recorded all the teachings in that. And then when she goes back after class, then she used to listen to it again and then take notes down. So as I saw that, then like I felt like, wow, this is a good thing, and I really need something like this, and I could use a tape recorder too. And then at that time, communication inside Tibet was impossible, so it was impossible for my parents to send money to India. And from the monastery, we were only given like 100 rupees as a pocket money, and this was enough just to buy some toothpaste or like just basic amenities. So I didn't really have the money to buy the cassette tape recorder. But one opportunity that I found to kind of gather the money to buy this cassette tape recorder was that in the office in the nunnery, they used to sell these bracelets called chimiguli, and these are like black and white bracelets, and the weaving is very intricate. And then since I know like how to weave them, and then I thought like, okay, I will weave this bracelet and then keep it in the office of the nunnery, and then if people buy them, then I will be able to gather the money that I need to buy. And then I spent a lot of time because the bracelet, the weave itself is an intricate weave, and I had to spend a lot of time. And then I also had to pay attention to my studies too. And then by 10, then in the monastery, it's lights out. You cannot stay later than that. So I really like work hard to weave those bracelets. And I went to the market first to buy the raw materials, and then came back and then like start weaving them, and then I kept it in the office. And then after a while, like I was able to gather the money that I needed to buy that cassette tape recorder. And then as we went to the market to buy it, and then immediately I felt like a sense of more worry, you know. Now I have this thing that I wanted, now I have to take care of it. Now more worry and more tension in my mind. And then not only that, as I went back home, then I thought like, oh, I paid a lot of money, I spent a lot of like effort in achieving this. Now I need to take care of it, and then I also, in fear that it might smash, then like I also weaved a cover for the recorder, and then all the other nuns, they used to make fun of me because of that, like, wow, you are taking such good care of this recorder. So this is the manner in which like desire or attachment works. It breeds like more stress in ourselves. So I'm sure like you can each think of like these kind of particular like examples, relatable examples that you have in your experience, and try to apply if it like sticks.
Sendechi karela na zeda jo rajo tada masa sendechi ora haila rajo chore de jola di ya laura chiche ini ya tidi gonzo chinji sheda ya bozo shinma me mi khaji be ya bozo kaji be chigre nyodi gola athingere di tata di do pha chhe pha gui ni chi thanga chang ha lo tata sare de tangi di apor digi na di nyoye na sa sendechi ora mone ora di mi sin khidara 아니 담아다시 들들들어라. 제가 디리래 가서 찍로 뭐지 선제도 담아보다 그때 친구를 해야 되라. 그 빼라 빼. 이내 차서 미스 나로라 찍라야 제발라. 들을 담보치미 이제 저 따사네. 아니 디라야 다시 따는 건 타네 다리 밑에 중요라. 오늘 담보시네 요르선.
So yeah, now like it was not so easy to kind of weave those things, you know, the bracelets, because it's called chimiguli, because the weave, it has to have 9 like weaves, and then as a young nun, I didn't really know how to weave it well, and the office people, they used to check it very like, you know, carefully whether the weaves are like up to the standard. So yeah, I had to put in a lot of effort because I had this desire that I projected onto the cassette tape recorder. So this is just an example, and the premise still remains the same when you apply it to any sort of object of desire.
그래서 돈이 거르지니 시원하다. 아주 내가 기술 찾았다 말이야. 세상 하나 더 로이 제당 주라 이 컨디션. 디장 나로 장야를 다하는 게 좀 시청에서 된 것처럼 되게 좋마라. 세상 나랑 거리네 담아온 바 안도는 컨디션 지킨데 제시당 때문에 제당도 하고 어디 때문에 진상에 님부터 체시고라. 디제 아니 단다디 갈랑아서 tatanda dosha ide nyembuti diwa chara ta control gi nyembola dan dosha shedang control la jora ngam to control na de shedang la na di shedang la di khalana shedang wala di phagi dila magawa chara magawa ki kola chigi tamboro sik de jora ta di nyembo dile shamba komba la ra 잠바 범차는 콜라 장별로 따차와이나 마가 올로들이 가버라 인자 인들어라 수치라 장별로도 수치라 마가 완전 냥도 좀 말아 제가 된대기 찡어 주기 시당디 제 맞아야라 하는 저기 칼로 잠바로 없이 보면은 되게 님부터 같이
So then as I recount this type of stories or incidents from my life, then I'm not just recounting them just for the sake of recounting them. Then it is to kind of give you an example of how to investigate the particular emotion, and then how to think of antidotes to these particular negative afflictions, and how to investigate the effect that these negative afflictions has on us. So this is why I recount these examples or stories from my life. And now moving on, when we think about the second negative emotion or afflictive emotion, it is the afflictive emotion of anger or aversion, as it is translated. And so then when we look at this emotion of anger or aversion, then it stems from a place of dislike of the object of your anger or aversion. And for that particular emotion, then the best kind of antidote is to practice the attitude of loving kindness.
오늘 밀레지 저기라 혼돈님도 샴바곰 그래라라 다 샴바곰에는 깔레베라 라 타바도 지당이 미질레 샴바곰 간다 오즈레 같이 있는데 담당 어쩌되니 시디디 따디디가 같이 레다 나달라 칸데스 곰토르라 니페토 곰레다 라 샴바곰바이나 나달라 곰토사 마레스 tadi taya tabje samdang wa an samba gangara ladi lelhabure tedi malla wasane lelhabure chana nyema samji lelo ta gomda de khandes kom wa samba gomba ina khandes gombo lawa ina tabo chita nga du sujata ji ji ge ne dewan de ba da dunye me de ba ji ba yin ba ji ta 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 chikira ani ya 되게 쇼핑이다 먼저라 말라 대와 고바는 초콜릿 고글로 찌빠찌빠 따라 라 말에 나마도 콜라지에 고글 말아서 되게 로데는 미리 전에 야메다 라 근데로 들리시리다 다 찍디 가르는 당아 오케이 나 심바 토포토 모다 지모시 바사만 가서 샴바 검투서레스 나이는 알아라 나라 마가야 치디 카티 짜데는 앞에 깔에 가고 총서레스 티문에 또 버튼데 리기라 그래 간데스 검고 나라 가두이는 찍기 배 두자잖아 저기 콜바 샴바 간데스 검물에 리오라 사창이 두글 짱 하시 챌린지나 거기 근데 수치고야 돼 그냥 짱 하마게 내지 싸요 라 대치 검내야 되게 팽그러 알레딩 알아기 노트인 게 망아라기 코나라 바두제 체에서 다링알라 디기 데부딩알 메고르서나 나디기 펜도 찍치라 치디야 가르다고는 맞지 쩌와 통마메 반다가는 남바이나 남베기 추 챌린지나라 나시 돈이 시라이네 되시 오라 지상 맞지 쩌와라 통마메 바인자 나저기 코나에 단단댕이게 다이나야 저 한번 얘기 아마다 파마다 얘기 빙자라 가리네 인치르스라 말라 까티친 부지인데스 와 근데 인자 아니 단대네 급지를 드라친주질렀다는 게 콜라베 가라 샴바 검마도 근데 제야면 따와이나 나디기 베편도다 competition is the amount.
So then if the antidote to aversion or anger is the practice of loving kindness, then the practice of loving kindness itself is not so easy. It's a difficult practice. And normally, as general people, generally, with people that we are near and close with, then adopting this kind of attitude is easy. But the real kind of challenge arises when we are confronted with someone that we do not like, or some people who do not like us. This is wherein the challenge arises. And so then, how do we practice loving kindness towards such people? Then we need to think about means or methods to approach this situation. And then the first kind of attitude that we need to think of is the basic fact that everyone, all sentient beings, want happiness and do not want suffering. Try to accept that basic fact first. If you are kind of able to accept this accept this and kind of think about this in such moments of anger, in front of people who either don't like or who you don't like, then it serves to kind of give you a space to think in this manner that since we are all the same in not wanting suffering and wanting desire, then we are the same, and it's liable that as he is angry, then I am also liable to be angry at one point. So to kind of, this gives you the space to kind of look at it like a little bit more objectively. And the second way of looking at this is now from a Buddhist perspective. And now if you are someone who is a Buddhist practitioner, then you also accept the law of causality or karma, and then you also accept that you have taken numerous or countless births previously from beginningless time. So with acceptance of these facts, then it is also a natural consequence of this fact that these very people who anger us at this moment have in the past life served as our mother. This is one. And the other one is like, since we have taken previous births, then it is certain that in the previous lives there was an instance wherein I accumulated the karma, or I engage in such an act that this particular moment is coming as a ripening of that karma. So with these two kind of way of looking at things, then anger is kind of pacified a bit. And sumba di nachu chemale na khande sungre la nachu chemale na khande sungre
ale nachu kora chemale la di gomba ina phendo khar do chita chido
mare
tenge jella
ale thanda sungjur ra
de
didix thanda
ta kesi kora sa ta na zo na bege na bai na de de chele ya do jang hamang chamasam de ta chana namba hora mai na chue chemale na kya shamba gomala phendo khar do ra de sama ta wai na kya ki shamba chen sam ta dai na de la shamba goma ina se dile ina kya to ma do ra mi ta na ina kya mi shamba gomi ji na sama chana lu chukho ra kya ka nge ki thedi na ro ba chen ra gire ani kya na chi mi ta na ina kuzi ina chere do re kya dai na nyuru do re ra khawa do su da mi ni chi bura ajo she goya de shilo la she goya da dada chi mi duja de le she gora so chi pu je do ra au de mi duja ji me lo de cha pa ji me lo de chi sina so ji me lo san she gora chi dang ta khanda khanji 디 카르라워 최케 문엔지네 샴바체바이네 캡사르 와 에이 최케 렌지네다 단도 쇼시에 단다 칼라 페나가도 샴발레다 디 미두아지라 카티체는데 칼라 마차니 수수 버로지 고메나 마움바 네 주첸제 보차야다 데기 코랄라야 마보요라 다 최케 문엔지네 캬기 찌다들 남사치라니 미지 투바션 남사들 투바쇼 쳔쇼 있다웨나 와 기시 켜나 터비 온다 땅나야 medici sevada kamala bachi chawa ne kyun so do chon so je ra sara wa tadi mai ne tando chran ge chi ge kisi ya ta chini tuba ro jan chi ro ha de ne da wa ine ya medici ta na a kuni tuba sa wa tuba ja ru ja ra le chi shran si le ora kya ge di tanda tuba ja sa da chini tuba cha ho ra ma ge wa cha ro ra tuba shu ja ja ani tando ge di gi pingya da sama chran la ma ga ya cha ra wa kunzi chiri do ra ani soso kawadone devoyo mata chana jakata waina na ngami tana dujaji resan ra cheso di se dileina chik soso kundo chawda lezo waina ki apumda ra jang haji ke malena
so then when we think about these two facts from the Buddhist perspective, that all sentient beings want happiness and do not desire suffering, and that we have taken countless births, so then this also gives us the opportunity to practice loving kindness, that these people do deserve our love and our kindness. So this is the approach that a Buddhist practitioner would take to practice loving kindness to someone who angers us. And now from if you do not accept Buddhism as a doctrine, and you do not believe in the law of causality or rebirth as a concept, then how do we approach this situation? Then first is to see what is the effect of practicing loving kindness. Does it have any effect? And if it does have an effect, then is it a positive one? Then if you are able to investigate this, then you will come to a conclusion that practicing loving kindness indeed does have a positive effect on you and your life. And this is one thing, looking at it objectively, whether what kind of effect the practice of loving kindness has. And then the other one is to see the negative effects or the negative consequence of engaging in behaviors that are influenced by anger or aversion in this life itself, or the immediate consequences of anger and aversion. So, if we look at the consequences or effects that anger has on our relation, on ourselves, on our behavior, then it is not one of a positive one. So let's say we engage in, we come into conflict with someone out of anger, and then even though if you are able to kind of defeat, let's say, that person in that conflict, then do you really have a sense of relief, a sense of peace after that? No. Look at the way that not just the relation with that particular person is kind of severed, but it breeds resentment between you as well as between you and the person, as well as his near and dear ones. Now his near and dear ones would not like you, and this is the kind of effect, negative effect of anger that we need to kind of investigate. Yes.
이제 다다가 두순디 가라는 얘기 다시 강투리 마마테가 그거는 지나게 계층고 차오라 지금 그때는 아주 힐로라 집보시 되어 마인게 나로랑 아주 배샤하시나라 저는 나로를 미니 데레데니 데데데 집보시 좀 쇼져이나 봐 완전히 초토예요 맞아 수준도 그때 쉬어도 지금 뭐 그런 걸 쉬시나 서치나라 완전 참아야 대화 시대에 보자 다가서 참아 하우 겸쇼 아 좀더 얘가 장아서 제가 지우지 되어라 그들이 신나서 오셨어요. 먼저 정말 디날 데마토에로 차이인가. 라. 산이디 처마토에인가. 아니 지기 통도라. 아니 지칼로 빼 마데어로 차야. 아니 산이디 투버제니 미니 돈 아산이 코니 델레게나. 섬에디 먼저 나다시라. 빼나래더라. 데로 지금 세상 나중에 빼 지금 남들 실로 받지 보고서는 미신발로 받지 보면 알아서 나로라 간 엔데로 중간에는 데리지 채고라 뒷배샤라 따따가 나지 뒷배 키네 실로라 당아도 실로라 니마니마 도라 저아지 뒤치랑이 레가 레선 레쿠네 나레 조타도 이나레 랑발라 모로 땅아도 이나레 다 카레 이니지 상아도 가도 나도 레디기 오라 디디가라 지게지 시랑 뜻 먼디나 남상아도 레디기도 sambagang tumda rang nge phagnuti khongal le napu kharje lagi na time water roj phasne thudo chena tis thuga chena bad shu chigra acha ngchure noti chure me nga pe ya ko de le do ndi tis sama la pha jayar dara tana azu de le pechen chu ju jane maung pa su nyere ge de samta ra chule ne inji mi ji ji phaga ro ji mi chom de chi ko mara so de une ora gi so churi kala na ara ni ma pha de wala 아니 상타야 냐면 제단들이 하버드 때문에 제시도도 저는 내가 레슬랑 저거 검사 유마라고 그러더라. 지금 민담에 두고래 계시란 마신이 두고래 안에 가시 시가 두고 가시 스마 탄탄메가 땀으로 두고 두고래 저거 검사다 지 샴바 검사데 오늘 거의 마라고.
So then I find it very important to kind of discuss these three negative afflictions in detail, since this is where all our negative misdeeds come from, and these have a big effect on the way that we conduct ourselves or the way we behave. And so now still sticking with the second afflictive emotion of anger and aversion, as I gave you an example before, now let's try to bring the example closer home here. Now let's imagine in this group setting, if two people in this group, in this course, engage in a physical altercation, now what is the effect of this on the group as a whole? It destroys the natural kind of environment that we have, a conducive environment that we so far had. Now everybody is not happy. Everybody has a sense of hesitation now, right? This is the effect that the emotion of anger has, not just on the two people who engage in altercation, but on the general environment, the immediate surrounding too. And then not only that, if it just ends there, then it's fine. But then from tomorrow onwards, then whenever we see these two people, then even though before we talked freely, then when the other people see these two people, then they have a natural sense of hesitation now, right? So this is the kind of examples that we need to think of, like how these afflictive emotions could have an effect not just on ourselves, but on our immediate surroundings and to others too. So we need to investigate the emotions in this manner. And now, when we talk about the practice of Dharma, or generally practice, then it is not just an imaginary or like a mental exercise. Not just the practice of Dharma is not just sitting in a temple and closing your eyes and just meditating on something. The real practice of the Dharma is manifested in the way we conduct or the way we behave ourselves in our daily lives, in the real world out there. So now, still sticking with the example of anger, I want you to think about like at workplace, when you are driving, or when you go to a particular restaurant. In these places, you are very liable to kind of. There are moments wherein like you become angry. For example, at workplace, like if you do not like the way somebody is talking to you, then you become very angry. And then when you are driving, then if like there is some sort of inconvenience for you when you are driving, then you shout at that person, saying that I'm driving perfectly. You are making all the mistakes in the road. And then even when we go to a restaurant, then you feel like the waiter or the servers are not treating you with the proper respect that you deserve for the fact that you paid money for your food. So these are all instances wherein like anger could, small examples wherein like anger could take hold of us. And these are all, if you think about it, perfect opportunities for us to practice the Dharma. So this is why I say the real practice of the Dharma is not in a temple by meditating, but the real practice of the Dharma is out there in the real world, in our daily lives, how we conduct and how we behave. Listen.
Dili indira tawana dei ta ngazo chikin mambuji shirwa tawana dinde pha ngazo chi shamba gomdang lo jo kandes gom ra tena ngazo gomdang le kande le gom la na ta kimi Geshema che khaji tiktubu de be da she ga ni jera andi are kema chikdi so dene kon dem ta she de ora chikdi simni anja tika samuka khongale de kharchile laina ni khasa jila starin le udu de be dujar ten tikala samta de ne khaga duja gom de ora kondo phedu wa tan ti mai ja ade kema khorani je Geshema singim da same ro chikche andi chikdi khar da samle ta da ra da dene ko de ta sana ikangi sugmaro de khoju chiksubu de ko de nya de la sama tanga de ni kangi ma do da ra ashi mi khaji pe dia bo chik sheshe do tanga ina ra chik soban de tanga do chijuga la nyami mo sa kwar gen da ge go de ka chi tanga ra 아니 시시 찌뿌지 잔다고 다는 데도 보니 시승주에는 시 차도 야보 치민도 이제 mamulago 다시 말린 디가 가지 다주도 sembar은 냐니 미치 쇼여로 체다 다시 딘나미래 거 디네시 데샤 아이캬마 다리 게까지 다 살아 도시던데 와 안데로 미 sembar은 냐마냐 지레다 제가 디데기 내가 다 미켜나는 미 두자지기 직 나고들 라와이나 디를 mam부 냐 삼파데는 수술을 났었다 와 sembalada ani chik susuchibu phashisa mara de nekangi de ne chik nasa mamusliida senido ande mane de da sare khaya mara de de do samra tari themachi re de anja umar samero anja tishul tes tharing da susu tawa mathana tes tharing jine yaboda a matho shi de nyamdo nyande ne kondo chir do sira de thana do chik chera ani chik tanda da ga keche ge gala da chik miji gi cheda mandi yo nara 콜라 니제 되게 콜라 셴메자 노트도 지고래 삼나 소도 가지 충도다 봐 말했다 콩알 지기도 칭아 콜라 시신도 지고서 아주 군노 마도다 아코니 이제 하고 문데 삼나 안에 가서 싫어 라 지디제 지네 디자인도 미 참아 제급 가서 가는 민담을 레워라 봐 더블리디가 검시 더블이요 답변은 꽤 샤워에 나가도 배버도 한국 걸 키도 꽤 저어지라 안 한국 걸로 유스는 야 시제도 봐 신발에 개고 집니다 순치던 한국도 그렇게 되자기다 다 내가 다내기만 가서 하다 되게 해서도 다 하고도 아 걔마다 그런 저리중에 지나기 저쪽에 해도 걔마라 내가 거야 있는 까마라 거야 수수 돌려라 내가 알아서 뜻당죠 먼저 엔드로 이내야 된다시기야 강아지야 먼저 베베시도나 지 내가 베베시도는 시도 심발이야 만들어야 되더라 항상 그 걔마 수수 시도기야 도단을 지기라 아디 걔마도 그런 저 도단 게레잖아 이 강이면도 이 가르치는 지기는 알아래 야 항상 되네 강이 차이다 라 근데도 그래서 더 패션이래
So then still exploring the negative emotion of anger, then how do we practice loving kindness, or how do we practice tolerance in the face of anger? So then if we look at it, then like anger, if we kind of investigate it closely, then in many instances anger kind of springs from the use of harsh words. And then we have a reaction to that harsh word. And then when we look at that, when anger arises on us, and if we keep kind of fixating on this harsh words, then at that particular moment when the harsh word was used, then of course there is anger. And then if we keep fixating on that harsh word, then it kind of breeds more anger in us, and it also breeds like resentment in ourselves. So then what do we do in such a situation? Then to look at the harsh word as just a sound, right? The word in it itself has no real like intrinsic value. It is just a sound. It's just that we are so fixated on our ideas of ourselves that we kind of project more meaning to these words. So if you are able to just treat it as sound, then take it from one ear, then like let it out from the other, and then the harsh words don't really have such a huge impact on the way we behave and the way we think. So this is one way of trying to practice tolerance, to look at harsh words as just sounds. And now when we think about this, then think about this fact that the harsh words are just a sound, then it is kind of illustrated from this incident that I would like to share with you. In the nunnery, we used to have teachers and the monastic discipline in charge who from time to time used to scold us, all of us, and using very harsh words sometimes. And in that instance, when we look at the reaction of the group, then there are some people who take like these words to their heart and cry, but there are some people who just laugh it off, and some people who pay no mind, even though it's the same words addressed to the same group, everyone, but it's the manner in which you treat those words. So this is why it's kind of important to try to practice tolerance in this way too, when we think of a reaction to harsh words. Then another way of looking at it is to think about it in this manner. If someone talks to you harshly or uses harsh words to you, then just know that just accept that it's just harsh words first, and that this particular person doesn't really know how to speak gently. This is the only problem, right? So he doesn't really know how to address people properly. This is the only problem in this situation. So I would not kind of develop anger immediately at that person. This is one way of looking at it. And now in this day and age, many cultures come into contact with each other, many different backgrounds, traditional backgrounds come into contact with each other, and there are many instances wherein there is some sort of friction. And for a particular example that I can think of is a small one, but it kind of also illustrates the point, wherein we need an acceptance of the difference, And in the Tibetan culture generally, if someone picks up a pair of shoes and brings it near the forehead or the general area of the face, then it is kind of considered very disrespectful. But now as we attend teachings in the temple, Dalai Lama temple, then a lot of foreigners and monks have to sit together. And when the foreigners, they want to go out, then they kind of pick up their shoes and bring it near your face. So initially we felt what is this? This is very disrespectful. But then as time went on, we felt in their culture, it's not such a disrespectful thing. So we are kind of able to accept it. Now we do not feel the disrespect or the anger or have an angry reaction towards such an instance. So this is the manner in which we need to kind of accept differences and not to react in anger. Lesson.
아니 간저 계시던데기 내다실에 남미로 땅에 지요 들을 시부시부시 담보 만드는 아니 수술에 계산하기도 봐 디지체 아니 계시 근데 양즈보로 고마토 샴바 고마토는 강이 가르가데도 들리치시라 아니 계시 저보고 샴바 공투와이는 제 디자인도 저 심만이 심만한 저기 아니 수술에 대화 뭐야다 수술이 겨와사야 들레펜도도 아니야 공당 다디야 텐션부인바 하르나 단다 드라이네 저 하망하망하라 저기 아니 니 바지 되나요 고카데 첨부인 바지 서다 야 카투들라사는 치타마네 다디 단다라나야 저보고메기 사노 야고치단다는 아주 최최 저보고메기 유치하거다 저런데 콘도 라인 나니면 저보고메 말아 저선 저보고메 유치하니 디야 까디 첨부 임바사노 딜라 레라더라 디체 예다 저보고메랑 아주 콘도 라인이 미지 강장하던 냠도 되게 말아 난 디사노시 땅나라 땡이 가르시오라나 직 안주 저보고메다로 그 샹바고메다지라 고트마니 칸데 디쇼네 산타나데 디단 땅 가레 땅인다 땅도 지고라 하나 찍고 디김다 데이터네 아니 데이터네 이제 고트만 산타네 아니 걔를 레하고 쳐야실라고라 같이 미크라네 미콘돌라데 미도 실레원 딱 걔만 내가 두두누르 니마 하시지레 때 걔가 가를 산나디다 미츠 간자네 데모고 제와 세로 몸보라도 냠도 데모라 디나 니마가 투지데세 니마 쮸데세 로직 데세 라 이마지 카테 데네로 산다네 야 디두가 냐 아주 저거면 레하래 저라 This is time got to move to the summer chichi with my medina dona yado did and idea. You do not this later to the ra. Janaya Chandra Shabagoala Shajan, hello, I'm so saduda. That gomna candas gommer. The Bessamala should have delivered the Dragon house on the Peter Chevara. Nia, the Tag Susanostan ended to insert S and Shivora, and it can't do some down the so. Ra. Negi rela negi tamachana la dolan tes camera. Negi see the dember the remainder. Ra. Tigala can the net on the digitigal Zugala de la Pento to him. Detailed package.
So this was a general discussion on like how to apply the antidotes to these negative afflictions, and then how to refrain from being under the influence or reacting under the influence of these negative afflictions. And this is a general discussion of the way we approach negative afflictions and the way we need to kind of investigate the effects of negative afflictions. And now moving on, still when we talk about anger, then one way to look at it in a particular instance of anger is in this, that the object of our anger, or the enemy, or the someone who we are angry with, then we need to also feel, from the Buddhist perspective, to feel grateful to this person. One, for the fact that in a previous birth he or she has served as our mother. This is one place. And if you're not able to do that, then as a practitioner, for this very particular instance, he's giving you the perfect opportunity to practice tolerance or practice loving kindness. And this kind of opportunity does not come often. So you need to be grateful for that very matter too. So then when we talk about trying to discuss these like emotions and by citing numerous examples, I do it because we need to, because all of these are evident in our daily experience, these emotions. We need to try to explore it through as many doors as possible, by not just thinking it from one perspective, like if from this perspective I need to approach it in this way, from that perspective I need to approach it in this way. So we need to do that because this is a true experience that we have, that these emotions arise in us on a daily basis. So we need to think about exploring numerous doors of investigation into the effects that these emotions have, and how to practice the antidotes to these emotions. Yes. So as I do this, then if I'm being lazy, then I can approach the text in this manner, that okay, for anger the antidote is such and such, and you need to practice it, and the talk ends there. But I'm trying to do this because it's easy to kind of explore and investigate these emotions in this manner if I cite examples, and you can do it too. And now the real kind of responsibility is on yourself to kind of explore and investigate it in this same manner in this manner, and then to see if the antidotes and if the practice that I kind of mentioned do have a benefit in your experience. Yes.
아니 어떤 날 말아야지 무슨 말로지 대우를 마음부지 로지 장에 게 마음부지 땐지 고요를 스스로게 무슨 말로라야 그러냐면 마음부지 싫어 이네 아니 디 나라 간시버데 마찬가지로 뭐 고알아 담나디 그런 기주가 그래라 기주를 나라 인지케 쇼쇼 망아라시 나라 라자 페바시 투는데 그 간데 지금이 하고다 오늘 전에 뺨마스 야오지우더라 손데 박힌 수 가르시와 딱부터다 네가 오늘 전에 직장 치마송 선언지라 항상 아니야고 진짜 저한테 쓰면 친구들아 계승가서 나 예의 쇼지까지 샤체 파이신인데 파주마도 흉들 고마라 시간이라 예전 좀 참여 걸어 두지 첼라 봐야지 오늘 저기도 그런데 이지면 주죠
Dida jo mare.
그래 캠데 가 아니 내하고 이게 나거는 첼라 좀
So even though I have studied the Buddhist texts and read a lot of Buddhist texts, then if there's no translator, then it is kind of impossible to kind of relate or to kind of give you a teaching in the first place. And the translator is like giving his all, and I'm confident that he is translating everything like in detail. And for that, I want to thank the translator too. Yes.
Yeah, this is true, really. He translated very nice. That's very like word by word. Otherwise, he's not here, then we can't do like. My English is not so good, like just broken. Sometimes I have not enough in the words like between. So he translates very detailed. What I know, then he translates. So we all like thank you. Really? Okay?
Yes.